Hi, I'm Rob Willmann, your next expert content developer. I created this short presentation to demonstrate my skills and what I'm capable of. So let's go. This short video I've made shows off some of my courseware development skills I've learned over the years. The objectives for this video are: number one, to meet Rob, that's me, follow my ADDIE development model, review my mini course on efficiently customizing a new development VM with the bash history of a previous machine, and finally, to hire me. While I currently work in IT, I started off in a different direction. I have a Bachelor of Arts in Music from the University of South Alabama, and I studied percussion and drums, specializing in classical music and four-mallet marimba and vibes. I spent 2 years after that at the Johns Hopkins University Peabody Conservatory of Music working on master-level studies with Bill Mersch and Jonathan Haas, one of Frank Zappa's percussionists. I practiced my tail off. After that, I moved home after I finished my studies and was a full-time musician. I performed classical music for years with orchestras all along the Gulf Coast. I taught private lessons in percussion at the University of Mobile. I had my own private drum studio, and I played vibes in my jazz quartet every Sunday for a jazz brunch for a little over 3 years. That brings up a great joke. What's the difference between a drummer and a large pizza? A large pizza can feed a family of 4. I had to make a decision: starve as a working musician with a newborn daughter, or do something more profitable. IT was it. I started learning Linux OS, SQL, and other technical skills, working in various roles and honing my skills. Most recently, I worked for VMware, the virtual machine folks. I had a number of roles with them, starting in technical support. I earned several VCPs, the VMware Certified Professional certification, while having one of the highest customer satisfaction ratings on my team. I was the guy you called when the smelly brown stuff hit the fast, swirly, shiny thing. I was also an escalation engineer for end-user computing, earning my VCAP, the VMware Certified Advanced Professional, in desktop design. I was also a VMware Certified Instructor, earning the coveted VMware Certified Instructor while teaching some of the smartest people in the world. My students rocked. I became a courseware developer, earning my certification in designing learning from ATD, the industry-recognized Association for Talent Development. I also earned the coveted Engineer of Excellence Award, given to me by our CEO Pat Gelsinger. We lovingly called him Patty G. Eventually, I moved to the VMware Emerging Products team, where I worked my way up to Global Technical Lead for Wavefront, or Tanzu Observability as it later became. My final role at VMware was within their R&D division as a Senior Solutions Architect. I helped smart people plan their observability and pipeline monitoring needs, wrote parts of the runbook and internal documentation, and did a lot of hands-on training with technical support engineers and DevOps folks. I've been married for 25 years to my wonderful wife Tammany, and I have 2 children, Kai, my 15-year-old son, and Lily, my 23-year-old daughter. I love virtualization, and I have 5 Proxmox nodes in a lab in my basement with a dedicated gigabit circuit. Yeah, I'm that kind of nerd. I love teaching people and watching the light bulb moment when they truly understand a new topic. Alright, enough about me. Let's talk about the ADDIE training model and get into some fun stuff. What is the ADDIE model of instructional design, and why do I use it? The ADDIE model is a tried and true methodology of developing courseware. It works because it forces developers to think of the business and learner needs instead of just explaining product features or benefits. Let's walk through these so you'll see why I trust this method with my courseware development. The first part of the ADDIE model is A for analyze. First, You do a problem solution analysis to get a clear picture of where everything is currently and try to understand the knowledge gaps needing to be filled. Answering some key questions helps the developers to understand why they are building courseware. Some of the key questions are: who is the target audience and what are they like? What is the problem we are trying to solve? Most successful training follows a problem solution methodology. We're trying to solve a problem. What does the audience already know, and what are the knowledge gaps? Sometimes a job task analysis can be done where you work with your target audience directly to determine what job skills they need to successfully perform a needed action. Why are we doing training at all? What is the desired outcome of this learning experience? In other words, what do we expect someone to know after taking the training? What are the best tools needed to deliver this type of information? Will this be text, video, interactive labs, all three? What would be the most efficient way to disseminate the needed knowledge? When does this need to be delivered? Now this is the one that the stakeholders love. Next comes design. Based on the information gathered in the analysis phase, it's time to design the plan for the course. This includes learning objectives, content structure or outline, skills you want learners to retain post-learning, tools you will use such as PowerPoint, Camtasia, video or audio software, or even PDF creators. Are additional videos or graphics needed? Where will you get them? We also need to take into consideration the time length for each lesson. Remember, people learn most efficiently in short segments, so we got to keep it short and simple. Storyboarding. This is sometimes optional, but it helps determine how the training will flow, potentially using diagrams or sketches. You may not even need one, but people love drawings. At the end of the design phase, you should have your course outline, overall design, and storyboarding completed if needed. Next, you move to the development phase. This is where you and your team actually build the course. This may include video, audio voiceovers, graphics, takeaway PDFs, and other learning aids. This is the intensive part, requiring focus and attention to detail. It's important to have regular check-ins with your team or project manager to avoid roadblocks or time constraints. You need to get feedback while developing so you don't create something out of scope that doesn't meet the learning objective. Finally, your course is ready for prime time. The fourth step of ADDIE is implementation. This is where the learners consume your training. Often this entails delivering your course via a learning management system or LMS. The most common use for LMS software is to deploy and track online training initiatives. Typically, course assets are uploaded to the learning management system, which makes them easily accessible for remote learners. At the end of the implementation phase, the learners are consuming your training and providing feedback. Last, but certainly not least, you must evaluate. A crucial step for a developer such as myself, this helps you improve your training and your own craft. Some important milestones need to be met in the development phase, so brutal honesty is really critical here. Did this course meet the business objectives? Do you have a feedback method for learners to help you improve the course? If this is an iterative cycle, now is the opportunity to improve the training based on the feedback from the business stakeholders and the learners themselves. Well, that's the ADDIE model in a nutshell. I use that method to create the following short example training on how to save time working in a new Linux operating system. Let's take a look. Imagine you're a software developer who works on a contract basis. You just landed a new DevOps contract and the new company just delivered you a brand new Ubuntu virtual machine for your development environment. Great, but wait a minute. All the tools and customizations you leveraged were left behind on the old server. Maybe you need to install Python, Docker, Flask, or a host of other dependencies to get your new project started. You don't want to spend all day downloading packages and customizing the VM. You just need your tools to work. How can you save time with building out your new development machine so you can start using Git to push your shiny new code to the software repository? After all, your new overlords are paying you to write code, not to fiddle with an OS. The solution? Convert your bash history into a customization script. Since you have access to your old OS, you can go through your bash history and extract the commands you used prior to get to work quickly. Wouldn't it be nice to convert those commands into a reusable bash shell script that you could use at any new job or contract? Perfect. But how do you do that? Follow along and I'll show you how to convert the good parts of your bash history into a reusable script you can leverage on a new Ubuntu VM. In a nutshell, this is a 4-step process. Obtain your bash history from the previous server. Sanitize it and remove commands that you don't need. Save the file and make it executable. And then finally execute the bash script on a new server and test your results. The steps to get a usable script out of a history file is straightforward, and once you're done, you'll have a handy script to use to deploy on any new VM you land on. Your bash history is all the commands you typed on the command line on your development server. Log into your existing Ubuntu machine with your preserved bash history. Type history and hit enter. I created this example history to have a mixture of some needed commands and some stuff we're just going to want to remove. Let's start by saving your bash history while removing those pesky line numbers. You can remove line numbers in your history file with sed, the Linux stream editor, and save the results. This command takes your history, including those from the current session, and removes the line numbers from the beginning of each line, and directs the output to a file called history.txt. The reason I use history command instead of using the hidden .bash_history file itself is because by default bash doesn't show the latest commands from the current session until you log off. So if you've been logged in for a while, you can use the history command to see the up-to-date commands, or you can log off and log back in to save the latest commands to the .bash_history file and use that as your basis to start from instead of using sed. It's your choice. Next, we'll get rid of sudo at the beginning of any command since we're going to be creating a script and running it with the sudo command anyway. We do that with another sed command. Now, when we cat the history file, we can see the sudo command is removed from the beginning of each line. We're getting closer. Now, let's get rid of the commands that you don't need. For instance, none of the ls, history, pwd commands, or man page lookups need to be in there. Use grep to remove the bulk of the unnecessary commands from the history file. The 3 switches that I use here are -v for selecting the inverse of the list provided, W means to match whole words only, and -E means to use extended regular expression, which allows you to include as many words in the parentheses as you want to include. The backslashes are there just to break apart a long command and to make it more human readable. We redirect the grep output to a new file called history1.txt. When we now review the commands in the history1 text file, you can see that there's a lot of junk now removed. With what you have left, you can easily go through the file with your favorite editor like VI or Nano and remove any passwords or items that you don't want or you don't need. Once you have your newly scrubbed history1.txt file, let's turn this into an actual executable script so Bash can do something with it. Add the shebang, the #exclam/bin/bash as the first line so the Linux kernel knows what to do with it. Save the file with a .sh extension so you know it's a bash shell script. Set the permissions on the file so it's executable with chmod plus x and the file name. In this case, I've chosen my_setup_script.sh. And there's your final product. Execute your new bash script and verify it worked as expected. For instance, if part of your script installed the Python 3 package, check the Python version with the Python 3-v command. You can also do something fun while the script runs. Make sure that you upload the file to your personal GitHub repository or other safe place where you can reuse it again the next time that you need it. Thanks so much for watching my sample training video. I hope this shows you some of the skills I'm capable of when I'm developing courseware. From my personal history to how I leverage the ADDIE model when I create training, I hope you found this useful. On the screen there's a QR code. Scan that with your phone and it will take you to my LinkedIn profile. I'd love to hear your feedback and make more connections. Be sure to leave me a message. Thanks again.